if Brian Kelly was at LSU and he went to play Alabama or Georgia or Texas A&M, the schools that you mentioned, would he have a better chance with LSU football team, the coach that he is, or Notre Dame to win it?
I think on a one-time basis, yes. The difference is Notre Dame to see Georgia or to see A&M or to see Alabama, you're more than likely going to see them in the college football playoff. When you're playing for a national title, you got to do it every week in the SEC, and that is a challenge. So, yes, one time off, I would say LSU, but you got to do it every single week. That is a challenge.
Hey, Dan, just in life.
Give it up.
I got it, Marcus. I got it from here, Swaggo. I got it from here. Dan Orlovsky, what's the more rewarding thing to achieve? If you the tallest dude in the small man contest, or you the big man on the big time campus, what's the better thing to achieve, Dan Orlovsky?
I'd say the big man on the big man campus.
What I'm saying to you is this: Notre Dame is an independent. They got a national profile. You talking about history, but the bottom line is as we've discussed, the college landscape has changed dramatically. The television dollars that have poured in, not just to an individual school like Notre Dame, because they obviously were pioneers in that regard, but in terms of what's transpired, like the Big Ten being on Fox, that's a big deal. The SEC and the association with us and other things, that's a big deal. Okay, the Pac-12, the Big 12, that's a big deal. We talk about the Power 5 conferences. Those kind of things matter. If you are Brian Kelly and you have achieved what he achieved, you know why he left Notre Dame? He left Notre Dame because he said, listen, no, because the money, he was going to get the money anyway.
Stop,
the money
Dan.
anyway. He's going to get the money anyway.
Yes.
Here's why he left,
Yes.
Dan. He left, Dan, because he said, I want a legitimate shot to win a national title. And I can't do that at Notre Dame. I can get to the playoffs.
I disagree with that.
I can get to the playoffs, but to win a national title, I got to go to a program like LSU because I got a better shot at getting more of those elite prime athletes at LSU than I have of getting them to come to Notre Dame. That ain't a fact. That ain't a fact.
No, that's probably fair. I don't think it's a fact. I think it's fair. LSU has had better recruiting classes in the last 3 or 4 years. Somehow one team is like 11-1 and one team is 6-5 this year. Even though all those
Actually, Notre Dame has recruited pretty well.
But I'm
Notre Dame has recruited pretty well.
Ranking-wise,
it's a big-time program.
Ranking-wise, let me ask you this, Marcus, because you can speak to it more directly. Okay. Brian Kelly wins a national championship at Notre Dame or Brian Kelly wins a national championship at LSU? Which one's more meaningful?
The one at Notre Dame because they haven't won, Dan.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But wait a minute,
What
Dan.
that got to do with it being a better job?
Dan, what I'm saying is this. It ain't happening at Notre Dame. It ain't happening at Notre Dame. There's a shot for it to happen at LSU. There's a shot for it to happen at LSU. Like, for example, we talking Cincinnati. Let me
ask this question.
I got a question. Marcus, let me ask you a question. That LSU team that won the Natty 2 years ago, do they win it without Joe Burrow?
No.
Okay.
What?
So Notre Dame is a special quarterback away from winning one.
What am I missing?
Quarterback away.
What am I missing here, bro? What am I missing here? What am I missing for a school that has won 4 national championships in the 2000s to one that hasn't won any? What am I missing? How is that not a better opportunity and a better job?
Do brands matter?
Dude, we talking about 4 national championships to 0.
Do brands matter?
Brands matter a great deal, Dan, but times have changed. You're willing to, the brand that Notre Dame was.
They're the number 5 team in America.
Listen, I understand.
Y'all are talking about Notre Dame like it's 2005.
Let me ask you a question. Once upon a time,
Dan, they've been good.
The Lou Holtz of the world.
They're a good football team, a good program.
Hold on, Swaggo. The Lou Holtz of the world and others who were coaching at Notre Dame. There was a time when Notre Dame, you talked Notre Dame all day, every day. Because they were college football. Even when they weren't winning national championships, they were college football, okay? This is when Florida State was relevant, when USC was relevant. You still talked about Notre Dame. No, we talk about Alabama. We talk about Georgia. Hell, we talk about Oklahoma as much as we talk about Notre Dame.
Right.
Yes, we do.
Let me ask you this.
The times have changed. Times have changed is what I'm saying to you. And it's not Notre Dame's fault. They're still a big-time program. I'm rooting like hell for Marcus Freeman to get that job. I'm not casting any aspersions on them. I'm just saying the demographics have changed. The interest has changed. The bottom line. When you think about the Midwest, you think about Ohio State before you think about Notre Dame. You think about Wisconsin and Northwestern almost as much as you think about Notre Dame. Almost as much as you. I'm talking about thinking about them. It's the absolute truth. Things have changed.
No, it's not.
Things have changed. And listen, when you talk about the brand that is Notre Dame, it's not what it used to be. That's all I'm saying. It's still big time, but it ain't what it used to be.
They're the number 5 team in America.
It's not what it used to be.
They've been a top 5 team for 5 years.
Listen, so is Michigan.
Let me
what
ask you
did we
this.
say?
Let me ask you this question.
Were you talking about before Nick Saban went to before Nick Saban went to Alabama? Were you talking about Alabama?
No, not at all. Because they were losing. They had Shula as their coach. They were struggling to win 6 games a year.
Exactly. So it hasn't.
But Notre Dame was winning, and you still talk about Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and all of that.
It's the number one job in America in Alabama. Or you disagree with that?
No, I think that's fair.
But what has brought them to that point? Relevancy, Dan.
Nick,
you were
national
fighting
championships.
You were fighting something that was happening when me and you wasn't even born. That's what you're fighting for right now. And it's crazy to me that you would sit here and say Notre Dame 5 in the country. What?
Agree to disagree.
Who's more
Marcus
relevant,
Spears, thank
Who?
you for visiting.
Notre Dame or LSU?
LSU.
You are out of your daggone mind.
We're going to leave it there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.